Travel Through Grief. Welcome to Travel Through Grief. I'm your host, Ellen Beckemeyer, and today is National Oklahoma Day. This is a story about where the road begins. Every journey has a beginning, not the beginning you choose, the beginning that chooses you. For me, that beginning is Oklahoma. It's where I was born. It's where I took my first steps, where I said my first words. It's even where I went to kindergarten. And then one summer, my family packed up and we moved away to Kentucky. Now, I love Kentucky and I'm a Kentuckian through and through, but I also have a big place in my heart for Oklahoma. I didn't grow up there. I didn't spend years learning its rhythms or exploring its back roads. But beginnings don't need decades to matter. They just need roots. And on this National Oklahoma Day, I want to celebrate the place where my story started. Not through nostalgia, but through culture, history, and travel. Through the landscapes and the people who shaped this land long before it was called Oklahoma. You see, through the roads that cross it, the stories that rise from it, and the origins that echo through it. Because in a year when America is marking 250 years, Oklahoma reminds us of something deeper. This land's story didn't begin in 1776. It began thousands of years before that. And honoring that truth is part of honoring this place, Oklahoma. It's a cultural crossroads. Oklahoma is a state defined by movement, a people, of culture, of history. It's a place where the past and present sit side by side, where the land holds memory, and it's also where travel becomes a way of understanding. The Native American heart of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is home to 39 federally recognized tribes, each with its own language, tradition, and history. This isn't a detail tucked into a textbook. It's the foundation of the state's identity. Long before statehood, long before the idea of the United States existed, indigenous nations lived and traded, they traveled, and they thrived on this land. Their stories stretch back thousands of years, far beyond the 250 years America is celebrating. And today, their presence is not just historical. It's woven into the present in ways you can see and feel. You hear it in the music, you see it in the art, you feel it in their festivals. It's welcomed in their museums, the communities, and the land itself. One of the most powerful celebrations of this living culture is the Red Earth Festival in Oklahoma City. It's a gathering. It's a gathering of Native artists, dancers, storytellers, and creators from across the country. The colors, the movement, the regalia, the drums, it's a celebration of identity, resilience, and continuity. If you ever want to understand Oklahoma, start there. Start where the people who were here first. That brings me to the Chisholm Trail. From there, Oklahoma's story expands outward into the trails, the roads, and routes that shape the state. One of the most iconic is the Chisholm Trail. It's a historic cattle route that ran from Texas to Kansas. Today you can trace it through small towns, museums, and markers. They tell the story of grit, migration, and the human instinct to keep moving. Traveling the Chisholm Trail today feels like stepping into a living timeline. You can almost imagine the sound of hooves, the creak of saddles, the voices of cowboys guiding cattle north. The land still carries that sense of motion. It's a reminder that Oklahoma has always been a place people move through. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by necessity, sometimes even in search of something better. And that movement is part of the state's identity. And that leads me to Route 66, the most famous road in America. And Oklahoma holds the longest drivable stretch of it. Driving Route 66 through Oklahoma is like flipping through a scrapbook of American travel culture. The neon signs glowing at dusk, vintage motels with retro charm, roadside diners serving pie that tastes like somebody's grandmother made it, the quirky attractions like the blue whale of Katusa, the murals in museums and little towns that feel frozen in time. Route 66 is nostalgia on wheels. It's the open road as a metaphor. It's the idea that sometimes the journey matters more than the destination. And for anyone who's ever grieved or healed, that truth hits home. Movement doesn't erase pain, but it gives somewhere to go. Now, you may have heard Will Rogers. He's Oklahoma's storyteller. You can't talk about Oklahoma without mentioning Will Rogers. He was a humorist, actor, writer, and one of the most beloved storytellers in American history. He traveled the world, observed people. He made them laugh, and most of all, he made them think. Rogers had this way of speaking truth with a wink, of making people feel seen without making them feel small. He embodied the spirit of Oklahoma, resilient, warm, grounded, curious, and he understood travel as a teacher, as a connector, as a way of understanding the world and yourself. Oklahoma's cultural contributions, because beyond its roads and trails, Oklahoma has given the world so much. A musical heritage that spans country, jazz, folk, and gospel. A deep tradition of storytelling and literature. A vibrant art scene shaped by natives, blacks, and Western influences. Food that blends Southern comfort with indigenous roots. The landscapes that shift from plains to forest to rolling hills. It's a state that surprises you, not because it's flashy, but because it's layered, which is saying something since it's flat. And when you travel through it, you feel those layers. And for me, Oklahoma is the place where my story began. Even if I didn't stay that long, it was enough time to collect a lifetime of memories. It's where I learned to walk, speak, what I learned what home meant for the very first time. Those early beginnings, the ones we don't consciously remember, they still shape us. They're the quiet roots beneath the surface, the foundation we build on without even realizing it. And in a year when America is celebrating 250 years, I'm reminded that beginnings matter. Not just the beginnings we celebrate, but the beginnings even that we forget. The beginnings that came long before us. The beginnings that shaped the land we stand on. Oklahoma holds both kinds of beginnings. The beginning of my personal story and the beginning of this land's story, thousands of years deep. That's what makes this place so powerful. Travel has always been a companion to grief, not because it fixes anything, but because it moves with us. It gives us new landscapes to breathe in, new roads to follow, and new metaphors for what it means to keep going. Oklahoma is full of those metaphors. The endless plains that remind you there's space for your sorrow, the storms that roll in fast and clear just as quickly, the highways that stretch straight into the horizon, the cultural festivals that celebrate resilience and identity, the historic trails that prove people have always found ways to move forward. This state teaches you that movement is part of healing, even if the movement is slow. And sometimes the most healing thing you can do is return to your beginnings, or at least acknowledge them. So today, on National Oklahoma Day, I'm celebrating the place where my journey began and honoring the deeper truth that this land's story began long before mine. That culture matters. The history, the movement, and that the land remembers. And you have a place like that too. You have a beginning, a starting point. There's a location on the map that shaped you before you even knew you were being shaped. We all have an origin story, and sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is just honor it and then keep traveling forward. If this episode connected with you, I'd love for you to follow our podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who may need it. Those small actions truly help new podcasts like Travel Through Grief grow and reach more people. And thank you to everyone who has already listened, rated, reviewed, and supported this journey. I appreciate you more than you know. Until next time, keep finding your way forward.